Hello everybody, this is a quick vlog showing you my book collection. I hope you enjoy, and here are the books. Let's just have a take a look, and if you need something to read during the coronavirus, here's some good reads, I hope. Yeah, let's go. So this is of course in alphabetical order, as you know, so I'll just take them out one at a time and you can look at them. Hopefully this case is getting away, but hey. So the first one we have Peter Hitchens' classic what do you call it? Polemic, The Abolition of Britain, which is a great little book. The earliest version from 2000 is a great read if you want to. Some of it's very relevant, especially with the panic around the coronavirus. I think it's very relevant and all that sort of stuff. And I have the updated version, which is a lot more pessimistic for very obvious reasons. Nice cover there. Nice subtitle. Again, in case you are watching some light, well, not necessarily light reading, but need some stuff to read during the coronavirus, I guess this would be good to have. And here is the ultimate book about Brexit, All Out War by Tim Shipman, and this, I haven't read it yet, it has some nice pictures in it, I guess. Like that, and of the Leave campaign, so stuff like that. Yeah, the MP here, Theresa Villas, actually uploaded a picture of that to her Instagram account recently, about 4 years ago. It makes you feel old. Yeah, that's just... And also, the other great people behind Brexit. As you know, I'm an ardent Brexiteer, I guess. That's one of the few political videos I've done. And there's the main man, Nigel, there, in case. I'm not going to try to be too divisive, and Aaron Banks. Yeah. This is I haven't read this yet, but Tim Shipman's working on his third one of the Brexit trilogy, and they call the chapter for Theresa May, that's aged like a fine wine, not. So yeah, that's that. There's Neil Postman's classic from 1986, even though this is a 1987 edition, Amusing Ourselves to Death. This is a great book if you want to learn about sort of the collapse of media. And I love this quote at the back here, which is very true. When a population becomes distracted by trivia, when cultural life is defined by a perpetual round of entertainment, when serious public conversation becomes a form of baby talk, when in short, people become an audience and their public business, what do you call it? A vaudeville act, then the nation finds itself at risk. Culture death is a clear possibility. Isn't it just PR? Thank you, PR merchants and stuff like that. And the next one, if I can get out, it's a very tiny one. It's Orwell, classic Orwell, Animal Farm. I remember reading this in secondary school, well, not high school because I'm not American. Orwell's a classic genius. No need to go further into that, I suppose. And here is my former MP Nick Dubois' book. He's a former MP for Enfield North, the last Conservative one as of now. Hopefully that'll change in the next few years. I don't live in his constituency anymore, but it's signed. And yeah, he was a good MP for her, and this is a very interesting book, I suppose. And he signed it for me. Forgive me, I'm doing this with one hand, filming with the other. And that's his signature. I did it when I interviewed him. You can check that out on my Mixcloud account if it's still up there. So shout out to Nick Dubois, great MP from my area. Better than the woman who ran it into the ground for about 20 years and got away with it. Joan Ryan, I mean. But, you know, she's not in power anymore, so not much to be said there. And here's Stephen King, different seasons. This includes the stories that inspired The Shawshank Redemption, At Pupil, and... oh god, what's the other one? Stand By Me. All in here. And there's the fourth one. It isn't filmed yet for some reason, because apparently it's unfilmable if you read the Empire stuff from that ages ago. That was quite a fascinating read. The next one we have here, not that one, I'll get into that in a minute, probably the longest one I have here, is one of my former lecturers, actually, Tony Shaw, at the University of Hertfordshire, Eden Suez and the Mass Media, Propaganda and Persuasion During the Suez Crisis, and there's a cartoon of Anthony Eden, Prime Minister, and Gamal Abdel Nasser being a lunatic, looked like Mussolini there, and that's part of it's an interesting study of propaganda. I was meant to interview him, but I never got around to it. This is an updated version. There was originally one in 1996, the same with All Out War. This is a 2017 version, but that's not nitpicky. What are the biggest one I own? David Cameron, for the record. I'm not the hugest fan of David Cameron, but this is an interesting book, I guess. I mean, I understand some areas of the Conservative Party which I'm in like him, but I don't know, just... a lot of what he did wasn't particularly good, especially turning Libya into the carcass it is now, even though both parties agreed on that at the time. But, yeah. I mean, we can thank him for the referendum, I guess. And it was very telling. He's so unpopular in the Conservative Party. When I went to their conference, this wasn't selling. Right? You know, Margaret Thatcher's books are selling. There are books about the BBC, which I'll get to, that are selling. But this one, which is a former leader, was still there, even though it was a discount price. It's quite amusing, actually. Here is Ghost Boy, which is a book I'm not really sure about. I got it for free at my old university. As you can see, the University of Hertfordshire. Great times there. This is former Martyr Pistorius with Megan Lloyd Davis. I'm not sure what it's about, but there we go. Mark Kermode, the famous British film critic, The Good, the Bad, and the Multiplex. This is a very fun read. I got it done very quickly. And it's a good book, even though Mark Kermode blocked me on Twitter because I made a joke about Trump. This is a controversial book because of who it's about. Ian Smith's The Great Betrayal, the memoirs of Africa's most controversial leader. And this man is Rhodesia's former prime minister. This is the paperback version because this book's out print, I think, and it's very hard to get. But this is, I'm not sure if really I can say about this man. He's, I don't know. I mean, he's much better than Robert Mugabe, at least. I mean, most people in South Africa? Zimbabwe would agree with that. Because at least, you know, he didn't put anyone under torture or commit genocide against native groups, which is what Mugabe did. And yeah, here's some pictures from the book. And again, this is a updated version. This is from 98, the original one's from 1997. I remember reading this at the British Library when I was reading about the, what was it? And there's Ian Smith there. And there's stuff about cricket. And yeah, there's Ian Smith doing the victory salute, I guess. Some of the stuff in here is quite harrowing. If you can find it, I would say give it a read. I need to give this stuff a read as well. Here's the latest one by Douglas... Oh no, that's the next one. This is Melanie Phillips' book, Londinistan. This version's out of print as well, I think, even though it's been updated since. Melanie Phillips is a great author, great columnist. Some of this stuff's quite interesting in here. I wouldn't agree with her comparing George Galloway to Oswald Mosley, though. I think that's a little bit extreme, but as you do. Here's Douglas Murray's latest work. I bought this at the Conservative Party conference as well. Jeez, I've got so many books. The Madness of Crowds is meant to be very good, and that's a brilliant cover, by the way. And yeah. And here comes the most left-wing book I own, and that Manufactured Consent by Edward S. Herman Noam Chomsky. Classic book. Don't agree with their Marxist leanings, but it's an interesting examination, especially the propaganda model, which is very relevant, especially if you look at the United States media. And even the British media to an extent, but it's worse than the United States. And yeah, it's a very interesting book and a very interesting read. And speaking of media bias, if I can fit that one back in. The Noble Liar by Robin Aitken, who I interviewed on my Mixcloud show as well. Very nice guy, very intelligent guy. This is about the BBC's bias. This is part of a trilogy about BBC bias because Robin Aitken worked there for 25 years. And his books include Can We Trust the BBC and Can We Still Trust the BBC, which focuses a lot on the Jimmy Savile scandal. This is a very controversial one. This is Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. A lot of people see this as a classic. I'm not the biggest fan because I think it's very long-winded. There's some good parts in there, like the airplane fights. I'm sorry, the action set piece at the beginning where the hostage is being taken. Some of the emotional stuff in the middle, and when someone's dying at the end, that's quite an interesting stuff. But beyond that, I think it's a very long-winded and uninteresting book, I'm afraid. I mean, Salman Rushdie has a style, and one of my friends, Georgia is her name, I'm not going to say her full name for obvious reasons. She commented about how it's, Midnight's Children is a very good book. I've not read it, but I plan to. There's a film about it a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Another Douglas Murray one here, The Strange Death of Europe. Flicked through parts of it, very good, especially about the analysis of immigration, particularly people like Enoch Powell. Yeah, it's got good reviews from people like Roger Scruton and Nick Cohen, who's of the left. But yeah, it's a very good book, and probably still a little bit relevant today. I hate using that because it's so obvious, but never mind. Sophia Khan is Not Obliged by Ashia Malik. Pardon me if I'm butchering that name. I got this from Enfield Town Library. I haven't read it, but yeah, it should be fun. It's apparently the Muslim version of British Joe Diary, which I'm not the biggest fan of the British Joe Diary series. The second one's alright, though. In terms of films, I've not actually read the books. Mark Dice's The True Story of Fake News, also examining media propaganda. A little bit self-indulgent, but quite an interesting read. A lot of interesting stuff in here. Like, I didn't know, because I'm not American, about the lies surrounding the American Spanish War. About the false, like, about Siggy and Maine. And this is quite an interesting book from Mark Dice. Yeah, his stuff is very good, even if he's a little bit of a traditionalist conservative, as you do. Two versions now of Bruce Dickinson's great autobiography. What Does This Button Do? It's a great little book, and one of these is signed, I think. I'll show you some pictures from inside, because why not? I don't think I'll get in trouble. Him performing, and I've seen him live, he's great, and that's him as a 15-year-old, and it also talks about his time in Bosnia, and his time in the film industry, which he thought was very relevant because it involved sex, and Unfortunately, when he was on his book tour, he talked about Harvey Weinstein and stuff like that. Poor bugger got cancer and thankfully lived to tell the tale. You know, thank goodness, because he's one of the most talented musicians out there. I mean, he's pro breakers as well, but that's not the reason I love him. I'm just a huge fan of Maine's music. I've seen them about 3 times. Once in Czech Republic, beautiful city Prague. Amsterdam, which is also very nice. Or Arnhem, sorry, I should say, I think. I could be wrong. And London, the I2, which, Georgia, thank you for coming. And yeah, this is the one I got signed. I actually met him in person. It was so giddy. Thank you, Bruce. I've got another signed book here. Oh yeah, Peter Hitch's book was signed as well. I might as well show you that. It's an earlier signed copy. I might as well show you that. Otherwise I forget. There we go, Peter Hitchens. This video's getting quite long. I'll just move this out of the way. I've still got quite a few books to go through, hopefully not too long. Why We Get the Wrong Politicians by Isabel Hartman, who's part of The Spectator, but I can't remember what... This is an updated version. There's an original one, which is a hardback. This is also got for the Custodial Bike Conference. As you do, so I've got a little bit more light-hearted now. I'll just get these out of the way. I'm going to be investigating more. And here's the next one, which is 1001 Games You Must Play Before You Die, even though this is quite a dated version. I'm not sure how old this is, but I think it's quite dated if I'm not mistaken. Oh dear. This is another classic George Orwell book, 1984. It's from 2000, I think, that version. I could be wrong, though. How could any Tory party member not be complete with this? Margaret Thatcher's up... Oh. Shoot. I might as well keep that in because it's for comedic value. I bought this for my history essay, actually, when I was in secondary school. And I just might as well show you 1 or 2 pictures from it. Why not? We got some time. Yeah, Margaret Thatcher, Entry Downing Street. Norman Tebbit I've actually met, and I interviewed him from the Mixcloud channel. And yeah, Gorbachev, meeting Gorbachev, the best leader of the Soviet Union because he actually respected freedom. There's the, I think that's the old Cypriot bishop, isn't it? Maracas, isn't his name? I could be wrong. Many of the Cypriots I know probably get really angry when I said that because I might have got the wrong person. I apologise profusely. That's her leaving Downing Street after the coup against her by Michael Heseltine. And here's some more controversial ones. There's a biography of Enoch Powell there. This is for history research as well. Very interesting politician, it must be said. Even if you don't agree with him, he's a very quite interesting character from his time, and even people like Tony Benn and Michael Foot admitted that. Certainly a lot more interesting than some of his contemporaries, it must be said. And here is another one, Like the Roman, The Life of Enoch Powell. And yeah, that's the back cover, and I might as well show you pictures from inside. This is quite a big one, as you can tell. There's a young Powell, I guess. Simon Heffer is a great author, by the way. You can see his stuff. Very intelligent man. And yeah. You don't have to agree with any of this, but it's interesting. That's him being elected in South Down, and there's him. There's a picture of him before when he was in his coffin, which is pretty sad to see. And here's one about another controversial British politician, Broken Vows by Tom Bower, I think his name is. And yeah, it's an interesting little polemic. I think it's a polemic, I could be wrong. Sorry, the quality's not good. I'll just put some of this back. I'll put it back in a minute, a bit more. And here's Peter Hitchens' latest one. You can tell Hellraiser's there, great movie. Peter Hitchens' latest one, The Phony Victory, makes a very interesting argument of appeasement in this thing. It's a great looking book. And he also signed this one. So this one, very nice piece. Thank you very much. And great author and great man, the best conservative commentator in Britain at the moment. Whether he takes a compliment or not, I have no idea, but hope he would. Hope he would. And here's the bottom thing. And I might as well get through them quickly because this video's already gone for like 20 minutes nearly. Okay, and this is Max Hastings' latest book about Vietnam, an epic tragedy. And yeah. Max Hastings is a great author, by the way, I guess. I haven't read so much of his stuff, but I know he's very well received, and here's some pictures of him inside. Very controversial war of Vietnam, as we all know, as we did in secondary school. An old textbook I have, British Civilization Introduction, from Routledge. Routledge? I don't know how to say it. You can tell I'm being a bit thick here, thick as a plank. Nigel Lawson's autobiography, memoirs from a Tory radical, which I guess he certainly was. Unleashed a lot of free market forces, which are good or bad depending on your point of view. I'm more of a mercantilist, I think is what you say. And that's him as a young man. You know, he was just a young boy. His story's seldom told. You know, it's a Simon Garfunkel reference. Go and listen to it. And here's more pictures. And here is... that's Gladstone, I think. And there's a picture of them in the House of Commons. And he was one of the main people behind Vote Leave, if I'm not mistaken. In his later life, he was a heavy Eurosceptic, which is weird because his daughter's a heavily Europhile, it seems. More pictures of Nigel. Who's the MP for Balby in Oxford, if I'm not mistaken. Forgive me for how unprofessional this video is, but as you do. And here we go. A punch thing comparing to Conan the Barbarian. I was watching one of the old Jib Jab videos recently where they portrayed him as that, and that was quite amusing. Early Modern History by, edited by this person. I can't pronounce his name, I'm not even going to bother. Ewan Cameron. And here we have another Peter Hitchens classic. Peter Hitchens' classic, which is The Abolition of Liberty, which is an updated version of his A Brief History of Crime. That's a brilliant picture, and unfortunately that's becoming all the more true by the day, I guess. Thanks, David. Not I quite liked David Blanken when I talked to him, which seemed quite strange, but I guess as you do. Marilee Blackman's Double Cross, which is part of the Noughts and Crosses series. I've never read any of them. She sounded alright, I guess, on a Channel 4 interview, I think. And those are my main ones, and there's a couple of extras. Like this one, The Great Deception, about the European Union by the late Christopher Booker, rest in peace. And Richard North. This is meant to be a very, very good book. And here's Mark Dykes' latest, Liberalism Find a Cure, which is a very crude picture, but I like Mark Dykes' videos. They're a little bit junk food type, but hey, there's no harm in that. And I might as well show you the last couple. There's Christopher P. Hitchens' brother, God Is Not Great, by the late great Christopher Hitchens. Very intelligent, even if his politics sometimes are a bit awry. And the last two is, I got one of these for Christmas, actually. Why Nations Fail by, yeah, the author's there. This is quite an interesting read. Peter Hitchens, another one. The War We Never Fought, the British establishment's complete surrender to drugs, if I'm not mistaken, is the title, which, very apt. And the final one is Margaret Thatcher's, one of the various Margaret Thatcher volumes of Charles Moore's biography, Margaret Thatcher herself alone. So yeah, that was all the books, and I hope you enjoyed. So, see you, bye-bye. Wanted to know what happened to one of Britain's most popular nationalist movements? Ever wanted to know how it came to be in its rise? Ever wanted to know why it's crumbled so quickly? Ever wanted to know what happened to its owner Luke Nash Jones? And ever wanted to know how it came to be and whether it will come back again? Well, read my new book, Rule Britannia, which discusses all this in detail. And if you enjoyed that book so much, please read Arguably Probably, which discusses all the articles from that, and also the articles from my other side to the Trident Media. And if you enjoyed both of those books, you can't wait to have the hardback copy. I've got more books in the future. Get both Rule Britannia and Arguably Probably now from Amazon Kindle, and eventually some hardbacks will be out as well. So take care, fellow travellers.